Hey guys, let's just open up for questions.
Hey Scott, I guess let's just talk about it right off the bat. Cris Cyborg with a pretty vintage performance there. What was your takeaway from seeing that performance by her?
I mean, my understanding, this is the first time she's had a submission in her fight. So, you know, here's an athlete, a martial artist that's just continuing to get better and better and better. I mean, Arlene was in there to fight. She brought it the best she could, but man, too much speed, too much power, too many combinations. I mean, it was a rough night for Arlene. And, you know, Cyborg is Cyborg. She is the greatest female fighter, you know, in the history of MMA, in my opinion. So I'll just leave it at that.
And I guess, where do you think she goes from here? She was leaving her options pretty open. She said if you were open to it, you know, boxing something she wants to check off the bucket list at some point. What do you think? Do you think she should take on another contender first, or go to boxing?
Well, there's a couple. I mean, we have some girls that can fight her, obviously, still. And, you know, Kat Zingano is somebody that pops in my mind. You know, maybe another fight or two, then we can put that fight together. But really, it's going to be up to Cris. And I know that we'll talk to her management. But, you know, we've had a lot of boxing interest. And the promoters are starting to reach out and saying, how can we put this together? And if it's important to Cris, we'll do it. So it's really going to be up to her. And I'm all for it, man. I'm a big boxing fan. I love MMA. I love combat sports. I love martial arts. So to me, if this is something that's important to her as a, you know, as a martial arts competitor, as a combat sports competitor, let's get it on, man. That's how I feel.
And right before the start of the main card, news broke that you had lost the co-main event between Patricky Pitbull and Jaleel Willis. As a promoter, how difficult is that to deal with on fight night? And can you just maybe talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I've been doing this a long time, so honestly, nothing surprises me anymore. You know, it just came out of the blue. About 20 minutes before the main card was gonna start, and I get a call saying that Pitbull's out. You know, the doctors made the call. So the doctor is the one that made the call, and the cornerman of Pitbull made the call, and it's the right call because look, health and safety first, always. There'll be another day for him, right? And hopefully he'll be back soon and be 100% healthy and ready to compete. But this is not the type of sport that you want to have a bad day in there because you're not feeling well and there's something wrong. You know, it's just, I would hate for him to get hurt if that was the case, and then we would feel responsible. So I think the doctors made a good call, and the cornerman, he himself wanted to fight. He's upset, and really upset that he can't fight. So, you know, that's how he is. But he's a fighter, and he wants to fight. But it just wasn't safe for him to do so, and that's what happened.
CBS Sports Network, this was your first American event that you've held, Thursday night slot. People seem to like the pacing a lot. I think that stuck out. What was your overall impression of how things went down? I know you were here watching the fights, but
yeah, I mean, you know, it's you know, it feels like our other shows about the same, and I think the pacing is good. I think the pacing, you know, we have you know, national commercials that air on the network, and we have obligations and things like that. But you know, I think that when the TV fight started, I thought it went very smooth and things ran well, and we had some good fights, and it ended with a big bang with Cyborg, because that was an impressive performance.
Last one from me. I noticed, you know, this main card started at 10 o'clock Eastern. I know you said you're going to continue on Thursdays. Should we expect, with some of the upcoming cards, for things to get a little earlier? I noticed the next card's at 9. Is that kind of the slot you guys are looking at?
Yeah, I mean, that will fluctuate based on the network's needs, but I think the next card, as you said, would be at 9 o'clock on the East Coast and 6 o'clock on the West Coast. So for the West Coast, it's a little early. 6 o'clock, people are still driving and, you know, and trying to get home probably. So, you know, it'll have to just work out, and they'll have to put their DVRs on or have to watch it, you know, at a restaurant or something. But, you know, it's something that we work closely with CBS Sports Network. That's a time because they have football commitments, and they have a lot of basketball. I mean, not basketball, but football, and they have soccer commitments and PBR, and they have a lot of sports they have commitments to. And so we're happy with what they gave us, which is 9 o'clock for the 29th and on.
Scott, You said earlier this week that you'd have some fight announcements after the event today. I know it broke today with the Grand Prix matchups coming back right here in Mohegan Sun. You got any other announcements for us?
I mean, there's only one more fight that we haven't signed it yet, so I don't want to say what it is, but that's our fight in December. But you pretty much know the whole schedule now, because on the 29th of October, we have the Lima fight versus Gegard. That's going to be a great fight. That's one of my favorite fights on the books right now. The week after that, because we're going to go 4 weeks straight on Thursday nights, is going to be Corey Anderson fighting Melvin Manhoff. And then Patricio Pitbull will fight the following weekend against Pedro Caballo. And then the weekend after that will be AJ McKee fighting Darren Caldwell. So we have a slate that's going to be a great lineups every weekend or every week on Thursday nights on CBS Sports Network. So I think that those are some sizable fights, and it feels good to get the tournament back on, and I feel great doing it here because this is where it all stopped. The guys are ready to go. COVID hit, just got worse. A lot of people felt uncomfortable, so we shut it down on the day of, as you guys know, and that's something that's it was the right decision. It's just a bad situation, and here we are. I mean, honestly, I never would have thought that we would be here 8 months later going, we still haven't put this event on. I thought it was going to be a break for 3-4 months, and then we'd be back in business, and and this is the new normal. This is how it is. So to get the tournament back here, get the tournament back going, and have it on CBS Sports Network, it's going to be great. And we're going to turn up the heat on the tournament. And then AJ, fighting DC the following weekend, a continuation of the tournament. We really want to get to the finals sometime early next year of this tournament. Maybe not early, but maybe April, May. But one's a quarterfinal, one's a semifinal, and then we'll fight them off as soon as we can, and then we'll get to the final matchup. And it's $1 million on the line. It's a lot of money. It's a game changer for a lot of these kids. So to me, we're going to get it on, and that's really what the announcement was. But it leaked out already, so it's out there.
Scott, you talked a lot about the tournament. Your last tournament champion, Douglas Lima, he's going for the middleweight title. He's still the welterweight champion. There's a lot of welterweights who think they should be first in line. One of the welterweights you have, Yaroslav Amosov, he's 24-0. It's one of the most impressive streaks in all of sports. Tell us, what do you think about that streak, and do you think he has earned enough with just being 24-0 for him to get the title shot?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And we want to put on the fights that the fans want to see as well, and that's why we are doing the fight with Gegard. And the one thing about Lima is, don't underestimate this guy. He is a big 170-pounder. He's cutting down from 205. So for him to go to 85, it's he can easily carry the weight. It wasn't like when Roy McDonald fought Gegard, and Gegard looked like a monster compared to Roy, and just took it to him. It wasn't even a fight, right? And so I think the size was the issue there. And now Gegard is going to step in there with a person that's as big as him, as tall as him, and has a lot of power, can hit super hard, just like Gegard does. So to me, it's going to be interesting how this thing tactically unfolds. And that's why I love what I do, and I get to sit there and I have the best seat in the house, and I get to watch some of the greatest fights on the planet.
One other welterweight I want to ask you about, even though he didn't fight tonight, it seemed like everybody was mentioning his name. That was Dylan Dennis. I think he got called out 2 or 3 times tonight. That said, when are we going to see him again? Is there anybody who fought tonight as a possible opponent?
I'm not even thinking about opponents for Dylan because, I'm not sure if he's healthy enough to fight yet because, he had surgery, I believe, and he was recovering and doing rehab and then going through the whole COVID thing. And, I'm sure it was very difficult to rehab during this time. So, once we have a conversation and he gives us a date that he can fight, we'll put the fight together and then we'll decide who he fights. But, he's a gamer. He's going to come out and he's going to want to show what he can do as well. And keep in mind, a lot of people give him slack, but he only has how many fights? Just 2 or 3, 4, a handful of fights. He doesn't have a big record. He's not a serious, a seasoned veteran or even a journeyman at this point. He's basically starting his MMA career. But listen, if he gets you on the ground with anybody, I think he's dangerous.
And Scott, my last question for you. You just mentioned a seasoned vet, one of the most seasoned, decorated biggest stars in the history of Bellator. Recently left. Michael Chandler
Mm-hmm.
joined the UFC. Just tell us, I mean, do you expect him to, I mean, last time you had a big star go to the UFC, Eddie Alvarez, he won the title. I mean, are you betting on Michael Chandler to do the same?
You know, I'll tell you, Michael is somebody that, it was a tough decision, but it was just a business decision at this point, and like I explained earlier, it's like a general manager of a sports team, right? Do you invest in these guys coming up, or do you invest in the seasoned veteran? I mean, I think that we've invested heavily in our 135 weight class, right? And I think we have the best 135 weight class in the planet based on the results. We invested in our 205 division, right? Corey Anderson, has already beaten the two guys that are fighting for the title over there. So we have the best 205-pound weight class in the world. And I believe now we have the best 135. So basically is, where do you put your funds? And so, Michael was not our champion. Pitbull's our champion. And Pitbull's going to be in this tournament for the next set of time. And so Michael would have just been kind of lingering. And that's one of the decisions of why we, said, okay, well, maybe it's time, to separate on a business level. But on a personal level, look, I hope he does well, and there's a lot of tough guys in that weight class over there. And I'll keep my fingers crossed for him that he has great fights over there.
My first question, Higo looked strong as ever tonight, but he did miss weight. He said the weight miss could have been like coronavirus related. So how much will this weight miss affect his future matchmaking, and what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that's unfortunate, right? Because you should make weight. It happens in the sport from time to time. Some people miss weight, and we'll monitor it. But I think I'm not sure if this has happened before with him. And I think he's fought in a couple weight classes for us. I mean, he's gone back. I know he fought Pico one time, and so he's gone back and forth. So I think he should identify a weight that he's really comfortable at, and then he should stick to that, and he should make weight. We'll be monitoring it, but right now I don't think there's a problem. I just think this is an isolated situation.
Second, you've had a slew of major signings recently. Is this something that we could see as a new normal? There's a lot more in the pipeline. And do you think this is a testament of how great your divisions that you're building are, especially the bantamweight?
Yeah, you know what? Like I said, we have the best bantamweight division in the world right now, to me, hands down. And we have so much depth in that division. Easily we could throw a tournament if we wanted to. We have great matchups. But I always said we have to build from the ground up. And I think that's something we're very good at. And we talked about star identification, star builders, building the new crop of fighters. And I think we have something really good to work with in the 135-pound weight class.
Giancarlo.
Hi, Scott. You brought up there about Patricio and competing in this Grand Prix. Where does that leave your lightweight division, though? Does he intend on defending the lightweight title in the future, remain in that weight class, or is there something where you're going to have to make another interim title or another contender?
I'll tell you, that's something we're going to have to sit down and talk to him about, because this was not meant to be an extended period of time, how it's lasted. So to me, we've kind of been extended more than maybe we would like to. And a lot of it has to do with COVID. Listen, I feel very lucky just to be here with you guys, and feel lucky to be hosting these fights. And, if we were in Paris this week instead of last week, we probably would be getting shut down right now because of all the COVID that's happening in Europe right now. So listen, we're operational, we're in business, and we're moving forward, and it feels good to do that. So that's why the tournament has been suspended or prolonged for such a long time. In saying that, we're going to fight these guys as fast as we can, which means that we have the fight in November. If they're ready to go in January, maybe we pick it up again in January and have the finals in March or April, something like that. And then we could decide from there. I did hear a rumor that he might give up the belt for his brother to get a shot at it. So, unfortunately he didn't fight tonight, so it's hard to assess where we go. But, we are in the process of building our 155-pound weight class. And you'll see a lot of the guys that we've signed in that weight class, and you'll see them starting to get busy here before the end of the year. And, in the meantime, we'll talk to Pitbull and see what he wants to do.
And final one for me, Cyborg was bringing up Amanda Nunes rematch, and Of course, like Dana White hasn't really been open as much as doing a cross promotion fight. Have you ever had something in the past where maybe the discussion was brought up about a potential fight with a Bellator fighter, UFC fighter, or is that just not like a realistic option for her right now?
I mean, it has not been their business model to do that, so I'm not sure, what their thought is, but I don't think that they are, open to do that. So the only way that happens is if Amanda Nunes becomes a free agent one day, and she's completely free, then give us a call. That's how I think this fight happens. And believe me, Cyborg would love that fight. She would love to avenge that matchup. I feel like when we talk about it, she's like, I would love that fight. So to me, hey, we'll get it. We'll do it in 2 months if they want to do it, but I just don't think that they're going to do it. So to me, when she's a free agent one day, then we can put that fight together.
Jay?
Thanks very much. Scott, good show tonight. I guess one of the downsides was losing Patricky, but if there's a silver lining, I'd say it's Steve Mowry, improved to 8-0. Do you feel it's time for him to maybe level up in terms of competition?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I thought he did well. He seemed very calm, was controlling the pace, and threw some good shots, and it's a big guy. So I think that it's time, definitely time. Yes, answer is yes. So I think that we've seen him, and he came up to me after the fight and said, "Hey, my shin's banged up, but I want to get back in here as soon as I can." Like he wants to fight. He wants to just keep fighting. So as soon as he's healed up, we'll get him back in the cage.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to the Grand Prix, which you've talked about a little. One thing I want to confirm is that they are no longer DAZN exclusives. Is that going to be the case moving forward? Is the era of the DAZN exclusive over?
No, you know what? Actually, we're just waiting to see what they want to do and when they get back. I mean, they have, some issues with Canelo trying to work out. I don't think they have scheduled anything with Triple G. We have nothing scheduled right now, but we're hoping that we can get back on the books and get something going and get this tournament back on DAZN like it was. But in the meantime, the show must go on. So we're going to have it on CBS Sports Network, and that's what you're going to see in November is the continuation of the tournament. And then if DAZN starts re-engaging, then we can, continue the tournament there and do some more great fights. We did some great fights for DAZN, and we're just waiting to see what they want to do.
We'll take a couple more here. Donna?
Hey, Scott, a couple questions for you, if that's all right. One is to do with Cris Cyborg and this boxing match that they've talked about. Could you tell me the extent of the discussions you've had with Eddie Hearn with regards to her fighting Katie Taylor? Because it seems to me like we would have a real huge pay-per-view on our hands if maybe Katie Taylor goes and beats Amanda Serrano, and in the meantime, Cris Cyborg beats Kat Zingano. We could have the female Mayweather-McGregor on our hands if that happens.
Yeah, I will say this. There is dialogue between Eddie Hearn and myself. And I said that I'll hit him up after this show's over. So we'll continue talking. And again, it's going to be up to Cris what she wants to do. I know, she's like, it's up to us, but really it's up to her and her management and to see which way they want to head. If they want to continue fighting MMA, because she's training MMA right now. And listen, to me, the caveat is going to be this. If they want to fight, and this might be a deal breaker on some levels, but part of me feels like this. When I saw the McGregor fight against Mayweather, I felt like, McGregor is not a boxer. He's an MMA fighter. Does he do boxing? Yes. But is he at the level of Mayweather? No. So to me, I felt like that fight worked out the way it did. But Mayweather should have fought Conor in MMA as part of the reciprocation of that.
I do not think Eddie Hearn's going to give you that. Well,
then we'll have to work it out. But, that depends on what Cyborg wants to do. If Eddie Hearn, wants to see who is the best female combat star and capability, then, maybe he should think about it.
My other one was to do with Pedro Carvalho fighting Patricio Pitbull. Are you envisaging having any problems getting him to the Mohegan Sun Arena for that fight? I understand that things are really heating up in Europe, and particularly here in Ireland. We've had record cases today for COVID-19. Travel, I'm sure, will become a problem in the next sort of month and a half between now and that fight. Do you think there will be any problems coming into that?
Here's what I tell everybody is, when you guys are training in Europe, you guys have to have your own bubble test yourself. And, like I told Gigar's management today, he has some training partners. Make sure that these training partners live in a bubble and that he trains, he's training at his house now to make sure he doesn't, get COVID. So there is something to be said about that. Is like, it's a real thing and they don't want to get sick. Nobody wants to get sick. And so, he'll be tested before he gets here, and then we'll test him twice when they're here. But I would tell all those guys, Carvalho, and I would tell, hey, go and pick a few people that you want to train with and kind of enter into your own little bubble, because you're going to need that protection, because you don't know what's, listen, when we were in Paris, I think that we had double the cases in Paris for COVID than we've had here in all of our fights put together. That's how hot it is over there. So we got out just in time. And so it's a very serious thing. And I heard that in the UK and in Ireland, it's heating up. And, I just urge the fighters, keep testing yourself, enter into your own bubble. Don't let people come in and out. And that way you'll feel, secure that you'll make it to the fight. Getting them in is not going to be the problem, because they got to show up at the airport with a COVID test. Right, a negative COVID test. And getting here, we'll have all the documentation, but just for their safety and the ability to fight when you're here, is please enter the bubble and don't let people come in and out of your bubble.
Final question, Mark.
Thanks, Scott. You just announced that Grand Prix, but is the women's flyweight Grand Prix still something that you're thinking about? Because you just signed quite a few new flyweights in the division. So is that something you may consider maybe late this year or early next?
Yes, you're talking about the 125-pound female division?
Correct.
Yes, that's something that I feel like should happen. Will it happen next? It hasn't been 100% decided, but it definitely has my support. It's something that I'll talk to the networks, I'll talk to my team, but I feel like that's a division we have a lot of great talent, and so to me that might be the next tournament after the featherweight tournament's over, or we might go to bantamweights. I mean, look how many great 135-pounders we have now. I mean, it's another deep division. So with signing Magomedov and putting him in there with the Archuletas and the Patrick Mixes, and and maybe we invite Horiguchi to come fight from Japan. I did talk to Japan last night about this, about if you guys want Archuleta to go fight their champ or their new champ, after I think Horiguchi is supposed to fight over there soon, and he's the fighter that knocked him out. I can't remember his name right now, but Asakara. Yeah, and so he knocked out Horiguchi. So they're gonna. I'm sure they can have a rematch. But listen, if Saki Ibarra wants us to fight the winner, let's get it on. That's how I feel.
And I guess we're kind of all waiting on seeing what's going on with Alimale. But do you feel that she's going to be fighting before the end of the year?
My belief is that she will be fighting before the end of the year, but I'm not sure if that's confirmed yet.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.